Hey guys, thanks again for the birthday wishes yesterday. I was very appreciated. Hopefully you guys all have discovered the quiz and all have taken the quiz. It hopefully wasn't too hard because we had a word bank. Yes, we actually had a word bank. Granted, it wasn't every word, but it was quite a few, 3 out of the 5. So I hope that was kind of nice to work with as well. I'll be grabbing and checking those probably earlier than your thesis, just because I can grade those much quicker. I'll try to get those graded hopefully by the end of the day today. So definitely be helpful. Today I just want to go into just a few things about your notes, and this will just hopefully help you. Remember, you guys should have done questions 6 through 10 today. I know I was, like I said, late on the quiz, but hopefully you guys were able to use some of your time to work on questions 6 through 10. Tomorrow, you guys will be doing questions 11 through 15. And then on Thursday, it's 16 through 20. And then on Friday, you'll be turning in the first 20 questions. All right? So today, it's talking about the Germans and their submarine warfare. The Germans developed effective submarine warfare, and I believe that is your first blank, submarine warfare. And their name of their submarines are U-boats, and it stands for the name of what the German name for submarine. And so they are going to use these. Please take note, they rarely attacked with torpedoes. They were way too uber expensive. So instead, they'll use their cannons on their submarines to sink the ships. And the key point is that those ships are unarmed, so they can't shoot back. So the subs followed international law. I know it seems strange, but there are rules and laws when you fight wars. And this was the rules you had to follow if you used a submarine. Rule number 1, the sub would have to warn the ship that it was going to attack and it had to stop. So number 1, the sub had to warn the ship under the attack to stop. They couldn't just send a torpedo over or attack them without knowing that they were there. By the way, they would check and make sure there was no warships nearby, because obviously they could be attacked if there were warships. The second rule was the sub had to allow the ship captain to unload all passengers. Unload all passengers. Of course, those of you that are kind of hip on the history back then, there was a cruise ship by the name of Titanic that had sunk. And unfortunately for the Titanic, they did not have enough lifeboats to let everybody get onto the lifeboat and be saved. So a brand new international law had been that all ships had to carry lifeboats for everybody that could potentially be on board. So the concept is that if the ship was going to be under attack, they would have enough lifeboats that everyone could get out of the ship and then they could sink it. If there was no military escort, number 3, the Germans would row across to the ship and search it. And so they would have to go across and search it. If military items were found in the ship, the sub could then use its cannon to sink the ship. Use the cannon to sink the ship. Now, this set of rules were followed for the whole first year of the war. But then the British got sneaky and they started using Q ships. So this was followed for the first year until the British started using Q ships. Okay. Now, you may ask yourself, Mr. Schmidt, what is a Q ship? Well, I will tell you what a Q ship is. A Q ship out on the surface, rolling around, looks like it's completely unarmed. If the Germans could go down in underneath the ship, they would discover, oh my, what's sitting right there? there's a cannon that's sitting underneath the ship. What this Q ship had was there were a number of springs and some little attachments all along the deck. These little attachments, you could just kick them with your foot, and with the spring in play, this cannon would all of a sudden come flipping up. And then all of a sudden, this unarmed merchant ship now is an armed merchant ship. Now, when would they do this? Well, remember, the third step. What are the Germans doing so that they can sink the ship? Oh, they're rowing across in their little boat. So does that mean that there's anyone running the sub? No, there's no one running the sub. So the crew could then, of the Q ship, fire their cannon, sink the sub, and then take the Germans prisoner. It was a very nasty little trick, and the Germans weren't too happy about it the couple times that they ran across these Q ships. So in 1915, that's when the Germans said, we're done. We're not going to follow the rules anymore. Second point, in 1915, Germany declares all ships in British waters to be the enemy. In 1915, Germany declares all ships in British waters to be the enemy. So it didn't matter if you were flying an American flag, a French flag, a Spanish flag. It didn't matter. If you were in British waters, you were now considered to be the enemy. Right? So what happens? March 28th, 1915, we have the British ship, a cruise ship. Any of you that have ever done some cruise shipping before and been out on the ocean and jumped in the pool, played some shuffleboard, and now, looks like rock climbing and everything else. Well, the Lusitania was a cruise ship. It was a British cruise ship. And what happens is, and we pretty much know that this is true now, the British had decided to use it to take and hide war equipment that was going to be brought back to England. Now, the Germans had spies, and the Germans know about the fact that they're bringing these goods on board. So what they had done is they are going to take out an ad in a number of American newspapers warning Americans not to ride on the Lusitania. By the way, if you'll notice on the first bullet point, 128 Americans will be on that ship and die. The ship was probably carrying a war equipment, and like I said, the Germans had taken out ads. They had taken out ads to tell the United States citizens not to ride. But you got to understand, guys, this is U.S. and this is U.S. citizens. And if you tell the U.S. citizen, don't do this, what are they going to do? Well, big surprise. They're going to do the opposite of what you just told them. So the Americans got on the ship. So the Germans will fail to check the ship. They won't look for anything on this ship, and they won't warn them. So they break two of the rules. And then they'll go ahead and send a torpedo to actually sink the ship. The Allies, though, failed to check the story. In fact, actually, when the American president goes to the British Prime Minister and asks him, I just was curious, was there anything on board? The British Prime Minister just said, yeah, no, there wasn't anything. And we took them at their word. We didn't press, we didn't research, we just took them at their word. There was nothing on board. The German ambassador promises, though, that he's sorry that this happened to Americans, and he will announce that there will never be another unannounced attack. There will never be another attack like this. Yet in 8 months, we have another British cruise ship by the name of the Sussex. The Sussex, which will be attacked unannounced with the loss of American lives again. So 8 months later, the Sussex will be attacked unannounced with losses of lives. So the German government then issues this thing, second blank here. the Sussex Pledge. The Sussex Pledge promises, the Sussex Pledge says, we're going to do this. It promises no unarmed ships will be sunk by anyone again. All right? The only problem is, big surprise, guess what the Germans do? Mr. Schmidt, they sink more ships. They do. Unannounced. Yep, they do. By the way, here you have a picture of some German subs. They're sitting there and they're unloading and loading. And so you can get kind of an idea of what the German subs look like. Pretty cool. I like this picture. Letter G. Wilson in 1916 keeps a pledge. And here's his pledge. His pledge is he kept us out of war. He knew this election was going to be close. And so what he does is he emphasizes that even though the war's been going on for 2 years, he's kept us out of war. The blank under this is this. Until Kennedy, that's Robert Kennedy, until Kennedy's election, there will never be a closer election than this election. This election, up until Kennedy's election, there will never be as close of an election as this election. And it's based on mostly the popular vote. The popular vote was very close not to do Wilson, but because of his pledge, it's just enough to get him over the finish line so that he can win a second term. All right? So, hopefully you guys have no questions. If you do, send the email. I've been getting the emails from you guys when you guys have some questions. And like I said, hopefully today you've already done questions 6 through 10. If you haven't done questions 6 through 10, or even maybe 3, 4, and 5, you guys need to. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. I will have another video for you. Also, hopefully you took a look at my video, once again showing you what an introductory paragraph should look like. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.